Rivers do not drink their own water. Trees do not eat their own fruit. The sun does not shine on itself, and flowers do not spread their fragrance for themselves. Living for others is a rule of nature. We are all born to help each other. No matter how difficult it is, life is good when you are happy, but much better when others are happy because of you.
From what you have heard, the war in Libya brought down a country that was one of the most prosperous countries on the continent of Africa. It had its economic blueprint very well organized. It had educational facilities, recreational facilities, the economy, the people, the welfare of the people of Libya was one of the best on the African continent. Why then did we go there to kill it? And why then do we cry about the refugees that are crossing the Mediterranean Sea into France? Why is the French government stopping Africans who are passing through Libya or from Libya, crossing over to France? The French came and dismembered under Resolution 1970 of the United Nations Security Council. Under that pretext, dropped bombs on Libya. From that time, today, the United States of America plus other NATO countries that supported an imaginary dismemberment of this nation have never been remorseful. Some have been remorseful, like Clinton has said, the role she played. Obama has been remorseful, said how they destroyed Libya. Mr. Cameron has been remorseful, was the Prime Minister of Britain by then. But remorsefulness, the one of France, who directed the killings, the murder, the slaughter, the slaying of all people because of an imaginary situation, did not say is sorry. The French have never said sorry to the Libyan people, whose economy, whose country has been turned into a begging country across the world, whose country has been dismembered, given to two factions, one in Benghazi, headed by the French again, and the one in Tripoli. Is it the Africa we want? Is this the Africa which we look at things and we don't talk about it? Is it the Africa that we can go on, accept, and say it is all right to have a nation that has just grown up its GDP, paying the welfare of its people, being cut to size? What was the rationale of killing Muammar Gaddafi? If they had wanted Muammar Gaddafi, they would have overthrown him without destroying the country, without giving the country to terrorists who later on turned themselves into rulers of Libya, yet they are terrorists. Muammar Gaddafi told us, they are terrorists, you are killing me, but the terrorists will take over this place. The Sahel region and North Africa will never be the same. Today, Africa is witnessing the same words have come back to haunt us. We have migrants. Britain is struggling with migrants coming through the Mediterranean Sea. France is struggling with migrants. Italy.
Good morning, viewers. Thank you very much. Welcome to Punchline Africa Television, broadcasting from the Political Command Center in London. Good morning. Thank you very much across in Nairobi. Thank you very much. Fantastic weather. I can hear. I feel it for you people. Thank you very much. Enjoy. Today, the topic of Africa is very simple. It is a topic that touches Africa. The bold step. What bold step has Africa taken in order to honor Gaddafi? What bold step has Africa taken in order to find out why Libya lies in ruins? Libya lies in ruins as Africa goes on telling us what they should do and not do. Libya lies in ruins when Africa cannot organize. African Union has allowed Libya to be part and parcel of the playing field of the Western Hemisphere, especially the countries that have gone in: France, Russia, Egypt, United Arab Emirates, Turkey, Italy, to play about with this country called Libya. It is for this matter that this morning I would like to address this issue and find out, why did we kill Libya? If we had problems with the leader, why didn't the Western world hemisphere, if they wanted, if they're out to kill people, why didn't they target the leader and leave the nation? As you look around, the nation of Libya on the continent of Africa brings quite a lot of misery. The misery that we always look at in some other parts of the world. If this misery was in Ukraine, the whole European Union, the entire world, America, would come for a donor conference to make sure that the plight of the people of that particular area would be finished and the restitution of their plight, of their privileges, dignity, begins to take shape. But today, because Libya is in Africa, there is no donor conference for Africa. There is no peace conference for Africa. UN itself does not call a peace conference. It allows a double standard African Union, whose chairperson is a party to all the conspiracies that have destroyed Libya. He is aware that in Libya, southern Libya, there are territories there. There are rebels, over 4,000 rebels that are being trained by General Khalifa Haftar, or who has taken over Benghazi and formed his own administration with the support of the French and the Russian mercenaries that are based in Libya. What then does Africa, what then does the world, what then does African Union do? Are we helpless? Are we useless? Are we biting at all? Can we bite? Can we make binding resolutions that can bring Libya without warring parties taking part in Benghazi and Tripoli? What has let us down? As a student of international relations and a lecturer of international relations, I find it very, very difficult to explain why the West always uses this excuse of nuclear weapons that they never display to us. If you have found the nuclear weapons, then why don't you display them to us? Saddam Hussein went down, possession of mass destruction weapons. Where are they? Afghanistan, the same. Where are they? Libya, the same. Where are they? More so, we destroyed these countries on the pretext of doctored evidence. You know very well that Tony Blair confessed to the whole world that the documents that were used to bombard Iraq were doctored and fake documents that were got from a thesis of a student who had written about the situation that could be in Iraq And these documents were taken as intelligence brief that later on dismembered Iraq. We are not saying, or we are on the side of what Saddam Hussein had done to his people. But look at what happens, what has happened to Iraq. Look at what has happened to Libya. The same has happened to Libya today. David Cameron, the former Prime Minister, by then the Prime Minister of Britain, apologized to the people of the world and Africa, and Libya in particular, that there was no evidence suggesting that there were weapons of mass destruction that were going to be pointed at Europe or United Kingdom. Then why did we go to kill Libya? Why didn't we kill the enemy? If we had enemies, perceived enemies that we always talk about in Africa. What lessons can Africa and African countries learn out of this? What can African countries learn out of the dismembering of Libya that was once a prosperous economy, a social structured economy, a social structured country, a politically awake country, a country that was productive, whose economy, whose supply of resources to its people was equitably done so. The world has a stage, and that world has a stage, as Shakespeare said. But the stage must be not uniform. If you are laying nails on your bed, always leave space for retreat, because tomorrow you might need that space to run away from the nails. The nails might be piercing, and you need a space without the nails. Therefore, in my commentary, this is an editorial commentary that I've made in 2011. Bombs started on this particular day, like the 23rd, Libya was dismembered. What lessons has Africa learned? What lessons has Europe learned? What lessons has Obama, as he sits in his retirement? What does he regret about bombarding Libya? Clinton, Mrs. Clinton, as Secretary of State for Africa, for United States of America. What reasons prompted them to bomb Libya? Sarkozy, when you sit up in Paris, when you took Gaddafi's money and used the Gaddafi's money to campaign, and today you are being sentenced, you are being taken to court for campaigning using Gaddafi's money to influence elections in France in order to win another term. Don't you feel ashamed before you reach God to apologize to the people of Africa and the people of Libya for having dismembered their country on the pretext that they were weapons of mass destruction? Ladies and gentlemen, a situation of this nature arises all the time in Africa. A situation of this nature, we have several examples on the continent of Africa, where regime change has been fronted by the West as the only alternative that can bring out a change. They did this on Zimbabwe. They wanted Mugabe to be removed violently. They failed. They gave plenty of money to Morgan Tsvangirai and a group. They pumped the opposition with all promises of good life. The regime did not change. It has been proved, therefore, that it is very difficult in the Western, in the third world, for sanctions. And once sanctions are heaped on a certain targeted or overall sanctions, targeted to that particular country, a regime will collapse. It is sad, therefore, for the people of Libya to be in this type of circumstances, where medicine is impossible, where schooling is impossible, where economy, bread, prices of loaves, scarcity of goods is the order of the day, where their infrastructure has been broken down, airports, good airports that Muammar Gaddafi had actually built have gone. What would one remember on such a day, a darker day in the history of the Libyan people and Africa? There is nowhere on the continent of Africa that you'd go and fail to find Mr. Gaddafi's symbol. Gaddafi's symbol on the continent of Africa stood high. Gaddafi, on his last days in the palace, in his office, warned us of terrorists who had come to occupy Libya. Did we change from a bad person that we had called a madman to terrorists? Did we arm terrorists who took over Libya by then? Did we really arm civilians whom people claimed were protecting themselves? Who are the people who took over Libya? We saw the factions. We have seen several of the factions turning guns on each other. Is it the same mistake that we have done in Syria? In Syria, we have seen quite a lot of difficulties that have killed, dismembered, and disallowed quite a lot of made things very difficult. It is therefore very, very important for the people of this continent of Africa to make sure that they learn from the experiences, they learn from what has happened to Libya. Look at what goes on in Syria. We said Assad was a bad person. We brought all the stories of chemical weapons, of so many things. Yes, these things could have been there. But what is the use of killing the entire Syrian nation, destroying it, and allowing refugees now to die in one of the oceans, and they die in the English Channel trying to reach United Kingdom? What can we do to stop this? It looks like every time we make things better, we allow them to go to the worst. Can Africa learn from this? Let's hear the speech from the late President Magufuli. That is my takeaway. Libya, as we stand today, let's add on this one. Libya, as we stand today, is a country that has been fractured. It's a country without power, without food, without medicine, without facilities that usually help humanity to be part and parcel of a human being, which is a complete humanity that we need on earth. It lacks all the necessary ingredients of survival. What can we do to help Libya return? Today is a great day for me and a great day for most of us who tried to warn the world. And one of the things that I did is my letter to President Museveni, who was then among the group of people who had gone, the 5 leaders, heads of state, who went across to Mali on their way to Tripoli to get Gaddafi out of Libya before the bombs started falling. It is unfortunate that this mission did not go through. But what then do we learn from these operations that were not or intentionally planned to fail? The African Union always comes at the center of all the problems that Africa has. It was created to solve our problems. Instead, it does not help us to solve our problems. I bring it to the end from that first phase, that today, that is what Libya is. What can we do to learn from these lessons? In my second part, I'll look at what can be learned from the Libyan examples. The example of Libya and what can be done to prevent future Libya from occurring on the continent of Africa. Let's hear President Magufuli when he was speaking about Libya in one of his speeches, the late Magufuli, who was very, very staunch supporter of Pan-Africanism, who died sometime in 2021. May his soul rest in peace. Video.
Ikiwa mpaka wazungu kule wanauana, sisi Tanzania tumekaa kwa amani, uwezo ukafikiria kwamba wanafurahi. Libya ilikuwa nchi ya amani sana. Mimi nimewahi kukaa Libya wiki 2. Mtu ukioa kule unapewa $50 za bure pamoja na nyumba ya kupanga ya bure. Raha zile ziliwachosha watu wa Libya, wakachonganishwa na hao wanaojua kuchonganisha, wakamuua Gaddafi. Leo Libya ni nchi masikini inayoteseka kila siku. Walikuwa na shida na mafuta ya Libya. Leo wa Libya ndio kila siku wanapanda mitumbwi kwenda Ulaya, wanakufa kwenye Mediterranean Sea. Nchi iliyokuwa ya amani leo imekuwa nchi ya shida. Waliowadanganya wapo na waliomuua Gaddafi wapo. Nenda Iraki, mpaka leo nchi ile imeshavurugika. Walimnyonga yule mtu mpaka kichwa kikaachanika, na vingine aliwapa laana. Leo Iraki kila siku wanauana wao kwa wao. Yamefumuka magrupu hili na grupu hili, kila siku ni kufa. Walioifikisha pale Iraki wapo na ninyi mnawajua. Nenda Syria, mpaka leo watu wanauana. Syria ilikuwa nchi nzuri tu, leo wanauana kila siku, na makundi mengine yametokezea humo. Walioyatengeneza hayo makundi wapo, wanaouana ni wa Syria. Nenda Somalia, baada ya Siad Barre miaka ijumi ngapi, mpaka leo haijatulia. Watu wa maeneo hayo wamekuwa wakimbizi. Watakuja na maneno mengi, mara demokrasia. Kwao kuna demokrasia? Demokrasia tulionayo hapa inatutosha.
Mheshimiwa Tundu Lissu, ukishindwa kutekeleza azma yao watakutupa, hautakaa uamini. Ukitaka kujua hayo, nenda ukamuulize Siseko Mobuto, au kama huyo ushahidi wake hautoshi, nenda ukamuulize Habyarimana. Lakini hawapo tena duniani, wameshaondoka. Sasa sijui utawaulizia wapi. Basi tuache tu, ila jua hao weupe unaowakumbatia sio ndugu zako.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, those who have been watching us. We have been up to date, updating ourselves on the question of Libya. The situation in Libya is something that needs close look at. In the concluded 36 Heads of State Summit in Addis Ababa, the chairperson of African Union, Mohamed Faki, announced that there will be a committee, or there will be discussion of dialogue with the warring parties from Libya. What he didn't tell us is who is discussing, how they are discussing, when they will discuss, where they will discuss from, internal dialogue, external dialogue, AU propelled dialogue. The choice of the mediator is what worries me as an African. Ngweso has a human rights record, a president who has stayed in power, who has abrogated all constitutional operations or constitutional frameworks that have been put there in Congo Brazzaville. This is a gentleman whom we have entrusted with the mediation of bringing warring parties of Libya together. It is a great shame, therefore, that we do things like we do things as if we're in the, we are doing things as if we are in the old Stone Age. Libya, therefore, was a country that had all the infrastructure. Libya was a country that could hold us together as Africans. But because of the AU, the deficiencies of AU, the problems that AU itself is captured, Libya fell to that knife. The chairperson of African Union, Mahamat Faki, told the world that there is a departure, they demanded the departure of mercenaries. How did these mercenaries reach Libya, therefore? Which type of mercenaries are you sending out of Libya? There are also French mercenaries. The French are mercenaries. Why don't they first leave Libya alone? Turkey has come to take over Libya. Why don't they leave first? But the biggest problem for Libya is Egypt, which is the neighbor that does not like the government in Tripoli. The viewers who are watching me and those who will get this clip, what lessons does Africa learn from this type of confusion? One, never allow your country to fall a victim of this type of machinations that we have seen that wrecked Libya. Two, when you are dealing with France, deal with it very carefully, because France, anywhere on the continent of Africa, will be coming for economic gains. It is not involved in any gains of democracy. It doesn't have the word democracy, yet they practice democracy back in Paris. Three, look at the African natures of our continent. Do we need these people to guide us towards conflict? If it's a mass protest, where is it heading us? I see so many countries across Africa today talking of opposition saying we need to move towards a mass protest. But both countries, the government and the people, the opposition, all of them are moving in the same direction. This is, you are heading towards a conflict. Isn't it time for you people in Africa, wherever you are? Nigerian elections are taking place. 3 men have come up. One is a dark horse who says he is the third force. Is it the third force that we should talk to so that we talk, all of us, we move Nigeria ahead? Look at what has happened to Libya. It teaches as an example that it is better to nurture democracy than to allow external influence to dismember our own countries. 3/4 of African people, most of them don't believe in their own governments. I was doing a survey in Congo to find out whether people know whether Mobutu is still the president. 60% of the people returned said they thought Mobutu was still the leader. So what has happened? Where's the education? Where's the civic education? And yet Congo has got the biggest number of NGOs that siphon money from the hapless Western countries in order to go to educate the people of Congo of their rights. So if you have 60% of Congolese thinking that President Mobutu is still the president of Congo, then you have a very big problem on the African continent. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for the tenacity, the steadfastness, the accuracy, the situation that you have given us the opportunity to be able to stand up and defend on this particular day. That on 23rd, in 2011, February, bombs landed on Libya. This country was dismembered. It ended up a pariah state, a broken state up to today. The next thing that we must know is Libya descended into chaos for a decade of violence that has been there. You can't even know when it will end, how it will end. Ladies and gentlemen, a protracted political struggle, stalemate between Benghazi and Tripoli has brought us to where we are today. Can African Union manage to change the things in Libya? The answer is no. They will not be able to manage because a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council called France is in the middle of the situation. Thank you very much. This show has been brought to you by Dr. David Matanga all that way. Thank you very much. God bless you. Let's meet again tomorrow on Twitter, Space and Television. We shall combine all on one, 11 o'clock tomorrow, when we face the tough questions. What are the tough questions of the week? See you then. Good morning or good afternoon.
Rivers do not drink their own water. Trees do not eat their own fruit. The sun does not shine on itself, and flowers do not spread their fragrance for themselves. Living for others is a rule of nature. We are all born to help each other. No matter how difficult it is, life is good when you are happy, but much better when others are happy because of you.